Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Monday, June 9th, 2025. If you like this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. Put your baseball picks in the comment section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my daily rundown best bet in Major League Baseball, you can find those at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. There's also a link in the description. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Monday, Major League Baseball. First up, we've got the Cleveland Guardians hosting the Cincinnati Reds. Got no official starter right now for Cincinnati, but we should see Luis Ortiz going for Cleveland. And Ortiz faced this Reds lineup not too long ago, back on May 18th, and that was actually a pretty good outing. Even though the Guardians lost that game 3-1, it was 5 innings of 2-run ball with 7 strikeouts for Ortiz, and he's in pretty good form overall. He pitched really well against the Yankees his last game. I really didn't like that matchup for him, and the Yankees had great numbers against them in past meetings, but 5 2/3, a shutout ball with 7 strikeouts for Ortiz in that game. That was a 4-0 win, and the Guardians have won 2 of his last 3 games against the Yankees and Tigers, the 2 best records in the American League. So I think that Ortiz puts together a solid outing in this one, and now at home, I think the Guardians could pick up a win for him. So give me Cleveland on the money line. Next up, we got the Miami Marlins taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. We got Eury Perez and Mike Burrows as the starters. Now, Perez making his season debut. He pitched pretty well in the minor leagues. He's got great strikeout numbers. I think he's got a lot of upside to his game, like many of the young starting pitchers in that Marlins organization. And I think he could put together a solid season debut against the Pirates team. We know it's not necessarily the greatest lineup in baseball. And, Mike Burrows pitched really well himself in his last game against Houston. But that is an Astros team that struggled against right-handed pitching on the road this year. And we saw Burrows struggle quite a bit, before that one game, giving up 4 runs in, just 5 innings against the Brewers, and then 5 runs against the D-backs in 3 1/3. So I think that the Marlins can get to Burrows for a few runs here. I lean towards the Marlins to win this game. I also think the under is worth a look. Next up, the Chicago Cubs and the Philadelphia Phillies. We got Matthew Boyd for Chicago, but no official starter right now for the Phillies. Matthew Boyd has been better at Wrigley Field, but he's still got a 3.49 ERA on the road. The Cubs have won 4 of his last 6 starts. He's in good form overall. He had a 3.54 ERA in the month of May, and then for his first start of June, 7 1/3 innings of 2-run baseball, 6 strikeouts against the Nationals. I know the offense didn't back him up in that game, and the Cubs took the loss, but in this spot, whether it's more of a bullpen game or a spot starter for Philadelphia, I think the Cubs offense, which has been one of the best offenses in the National League, should be able to get to the Phillies here. And, this Cubs bullpen, I've mentioned a few times, not my favorite bullpen in the National League, but I think it'll be good enough because I think Boyd, he's shown he can usually go 6+ innings. We've seen him go 6+ innings in 5 of his last 6 starts. So, to really take the burden off that bullpen and not necessarily put them in a tough spot, I think Boyd can pitch pretty well in this game. So give me the Cubs in this one on the money line. Next up, we got the Tampa Bay Rays and the Boston Red Sox. We got Shane Baz and Brian Bayo as the starters. We talked about how Brian Bayo's got good numbers on paper with a pretty low ERA, but the expected ERA is very steep, one of the highest in Major League Baseball for starting pitchers, and that concerns me. We saw Bayo give up some runs early in his last start against the Angels, then settled down and put together a quality start, but still ended up being a Red Sox loss, and they've lost 4 of his last 5 games now. It's the opposite for Shane Baz, who hasn't been spectacular, but the Rays have won 4 of his last 5 games, including 3 straight. His strikeout numbers have been a little bit inconsistent. He's given up some sharp contact, a lot of home runs. We know that can be a problem at Fenway Park, but I think that Baz is going to get some run support in this game. I think the Rays win this game on the road, so give me Tampa Bay on the money line. Next up, we got the Blue Jays and the Cardinals. We got Jose Barrios and Andre Pallante as the starters. Pallante had a nice lead for him in his last game against the Royals. It was 7-2 Cardinals, I believe, in the 3rd inning of that game, and then Pallante really struggled, gave up 7 runs and 2 home runs. That ended up being a 10-7 Royals win, a comeback win for KC, and it's tough to really trust Pallante in this spot. The Blue Jays have been solid against right-handed pitching in the last 30 days. Barrios coming off a great start himself against the Phillies. I got to roll the Blue Jays in this one. I just trust their offense a little bit more. I think their bullpen stronger as well. I've mentioned the expected numbers for this Toronto bullpen, some of the best in baseball. So give me the Blue Jays on the money line. Next up, we've got the Athletics and the Angels. We've got Yusei Kikuchi and Jeffrey Springs as the starters. The Angels have done pretty well in Kikuchi starts as of late. They've won 5 of his last 6 games. And even though his underlying numbers aren't the best and he's not coming off his best start in his last game against the Red Sox, I still think Kikuchi is the better option in this game, the more consistent option as well. I mean, he had a really great month of May, a 1.89 ERA and 33 1/3 innings. And like I said, he wasn't his best in the game against the Red Sox, but still ended up being an Angels win. And I think that the Angels can get to Jeffrey Springs. These two lineups are pretty similar against left-handed pitching in the last 30 days, but the Angels have much better power numbers. They got one of the highest isolated power numbers in Major League Baseball against lefties in the last month. So I like their chances to pick up the W in this one in a game that I think could get a little bit high scoring. Next up, we've got the Seattle Mariners taking on the Arizona Diamondbacks. We've got Emerson Hancock and Merrill Kelly as the starters. Now, I got to admit, Emerson Hancock's actually in solid form right now. I think he's a lot better. He's been pitching a lot better than his current ERA. And, I don't know how long he can continue to pitch like this. I still don't love Hancock as a, starting pitching option in this Mariners rotation, but got to give him credit. I mean, he's given up 3 runs or fewer in his last 4 games. The problem is, and at least recently, his last 2 starts, the Mariners have not backed him up, and they've lost his last 2 games. Even his last start against the Orioles, where he pitched really well, 5 2/3, 1 run, 6 strikeouts, ended up being a 3-2 Baltimore win. I've talked about how this Mariners bullpen has good numbers on paper to start the year. The ERA is one of the best in baseball, but the expected numbers and the projected WAR are near the bottom of the league, or not necessarily the bottom, but more middle of the pack than anything, and I do expect regression going forward. Now, when you look at Merrill Kelly, he was in a tough spot in his last game. He faced Chris Sale and the Atlanta Braves, and we saw the Diamondbacks were a big dog in that game, but Kelly, even though he had struggled in the previous 2 outings, put together a really good start in Atlanta, and he was able to give the Diamondbacks a low-scoring victory, which we've not really seen the Diamondbacks be able to pull off too often this year. As they've scored, we've seen them score a ton of runs early in games and then blow leads, let alone win these low-scoring close contests. But Kelly, I think he's going to be able to put together another quality start in this one. I think his bats are going to back him up against Hancock, who's in a tough spot at Chase Field, very hitter-friendly ballpark with not a lot of experience pitching at Chase Field. So give me the Diamondbacks in this one on the money line and maybe even the run line at Chase Field. And that's it. Those are the games for Monday in baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium, and there is a link in the description. As always, this is Romanelli. Good luck.